Hi, this is Andrew Sears again, and in this session, I'm going to go over the CARES Act and explain some of the nonprofit government grants, loans, and other legislation. So the CARES Act is the largest relief package ever passed in U.S. history. It was passed on March 22nd, and the key thing for nonprofits is this component called the Paycheck Protection Program. And this really is the largest program ever developed for nonprofits. It's $349 billion, and it's targeting nonprofits and small businesses of under 500 employees. And what it does is it offers loans from the time frame from February 15th to June 30th, 2020. And you can get a loan equal to essentially 2.5 months of average payroll that you can convert into a grant through loan forgiveness. And there's a lot of details to that, and I'll try to expand on some of those, and you can get more through the rest of the nonprofit COVID course that's available for free. One thing that makes it really unique is that it includes churches that have a 501c3 nonprofit designation, and the Small Business Administration is still determining guidance on churches without a 501c3 determination. So if you want more details, you can go to the nonprofitcovid19.org course, and this presentation will be there, and a bunch of other presentations that honestly are by experts that are much better than me. The reason why I'm doing this is I wanted to give a more concise summary that won't be as thorough, and I'm not a lawyer, and most of the other presentations are by lawyers. So view me as a secondary source and them more as primary sources. So what expenses can the loan cover? It can cover payroll cost, salary and benefits up to $100,000 per employee, including contractors. Benefits include health, dental, vision, life insurance, and vacation. It can include interest on any debt incurred before the loan period, mortgage or rent payments and utilities, state and local taxes. It does not cover federal taxes. So, we actually plan to apply for this ourselves, and we use QuickBooks for our accounting, so we're just going to track this as a separate customer, so that we're sure that we track every expense exactly, so we can report. If you're a larger organization, or if you want to have a better separation, you could have a separate bank account. And the limit on how much you can borrow is 2.5 months of average payroll. So you need to total the average monthly payroll for preceding 12 months, and you take that to find your average payroll, and then you multiply that by 2.5. And there's also a lot of details that will be covered in other presentations and links on how that's calculated. So where do you get the loan? Most likely you're going to get your loan from your current banker. I'm told that it's likely to be available by April 17th. And the banker is going to receive funds from the Small Business Administration. So if your bank doesn't work with the Small Business Administration, you can ask for a referral. But most banks, especially large banks these days, do. And you're going to apply for what's called the SBA Disaster Loan Paycheck Protection Program. And you want to be sure that if you're trying to get the forgivable loan, you apply for that one, not the SBA disaster loan, or it's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, EIDL. That's a different one. It doesn't offer forgiveness. So the interest rate's likely to be between 2.75 and 4%. You don't need any collateral, and there's minimal documentation that's needed to certify the loan. If you want to get an idea of what the documentation is, you can actually pull up a copy of the application form that's now available, and I believe that you would submit this application. To the bank, but it shows some of the information that you would need to provide to the bank. So in the fields that you need to fill out, it has questions that you need to go through that make sure that you qualify. And you can read through these questions to make sure you qualify. And then the certifications, this is the part that's important, that you're saying that the current economic uncertainty makes the loan request necessary. That applies, I believe, to a lot of nonprofits and a lot of churches. There's a lot of economic uncertainty. The whole purpose of this program is so that nonprofits and churches and others don't have to lay people off, and that people who still get their mortgage payments. It's basically trying to be a stopgap. And so you want to read through those, go through the signature section. And I believe that you'll turn this into your bank, but I am not 100% clear on that at this point. So there is a excellent loan guide, and the U.S. Chamber Foundation really has the best resources I've seen on this. This link here, they have a really, really good loan guide that will provide all the details. So the loan forgiveness, you must spend the funds in 8 weeks, and salaries must not be reduced by more than 25% if you want to get your loan forgiven. So you have 8 weeks to spend all that money. To me, that's a little weird because they say you have 2.5 months of payroll, and then you have to spend that in 8 weeks. I'm not sure how that's going to work logistically for a lot of organizations. And it's going to be the amount you spend during the 8-week period for payroll, mortgage, rent, and utilities. And the forgiveness amount may be reduced based on a formula if there's a reduction in the number of employees. So, and this U.S. Chamber Foundation, in their kit, they provided a guide that you can go through this if you want. You can pause on this page, or you can download their guide. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take the average number of full-time employees for the 8 weeks, beginning with the loan, and then divide that by the average number of employees that you had before. So say you cut your workforce by 25%, then you're going to by more than 25%, then you're not going to be able to get that portion that you cut reimbursed. And then you're going to have, if you have people who are paid more than 100,000, then you're going to have to deduct that. And if you laid off some workers and you restore wages, then you're also able to get those funds. Basically, if you address that and you hire back people, that's essentially doing what they're trying to incentivize you to do. So, key concerns for faith-based organizations. I ran a Christian nonprofit that used to take government money, and we stopped taking government money because of religious freedom reasons. This, from what I can tell, is about the least strings that I've ever seen with government money. In a webinar by the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, I took this out as a quote. And they said in their notes, they said eligible recipients include 501c3 tax-exempt organizations. There is no apparent restriction with respect to religious organizations. Lenders may have conflicting information. Sometimes a bank may not have the right information. If you are a church and you don't have a 501c3 letter, then you might have challenges. And I think that the legal justification for this is that normally the government can't fund churches, which is a part of the way our government's operated. But if the government is requiring that faith-based organizations and churches be closed for public safety reasons, then the loan forgiveness is potentially justified. So we are going to be working with different groups on the latest analysis on religious freedom issues. I know the Alliance Defending Freedom is doing a webinar, I believe, very soon that I'll post to our website for that. So some of the other key provisions in the CARES Act for nonprofits, I'm not going to go to in detail, but they have an employee retention credit for organizations that are more than 50% shut down. There's the ability to delay the employer portion of payroll taxes for, I think, a year or two. For organizations that want a more traditional loan, in addition to the other loan, you can get the SBA economic injury disaster loans. And you can apply for a $10,000 emergency grant. And part of what's interesting about that grant is even if you're denied for this loan, you basically can keep the $10,000, which some people may just be applying for it just to get the $10,000 grant. I'm not sure how that's going to work. And then there's also the Families First Act. This was just passed a little bit before related to COVID-19, and there's a lot of webinars on this, and we also include some of the webinars on this on our website. It gets into reimbursement from the federal government for paid sick and family leave time. Ultimately, what that's about is the federal government wants every organization to be able to send people home if they're sick, whether or not they have the money to pay for that. So they're willing to reimburse you. So the last thing I want to cover is this presentation is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just trying to gather resources and summarize them for you. I highly recommend listening to the presentations and reading articles from lawyers. And there's much better and thorough expertise available on our website in the nonprofit government grant section of that website. So thanks a lot.